was in charge of the technology teams for Europe, Middle East, and India. Constantly traveling. I was around 200, 250 flights per year, depending on the year. So my life was spent in airports, meeting super interesting clients on their most interesting products, working with enormously skilled people. And the interesting thing is that I truly believe that I never worked a single day of my life. And then COVID hits, and I recall that morning that I wake up, and for the first time in my life, I had to go to work, which was the computer in my kitchen. But still, I remember this clear sensation of, oh my God, I have to work today. And that was the beginning of the end.
This is Matteo Penzo, a founder, as you will hear in this interview, who always lived a double life, a corporate manager during the week and a sidebar co-founder during the weekend, until COVID changed all of this. This is the story of how his biggest venture yet was born from one of his deepest personal crises. I'm sure you're gonna love it, and as always, let me know what you think in the comments. All right, welcome back to the Founders Bible. Good morning, Matteo. How's it going today?
Amazingly well, Alessandro.
Wonderful. We had a little bit of hiccups. Today is the day where getting the right setup, internet's not really working, the sun is shining on your head very soon. So amazing. We are making it happen anyway. Let me break the ice with the first question that it's our usual starting question here at the Founder Bible. Why the heck are you a founder? What's wrong with you? Why did you choose that?
Um, I would say to answer a physical need that comes from when I was a kid. Um, I constantly had ideas. For example, when I was probably 8 years old with my sister, Mary, we invented a circus, a show to be held for paying customers. So run by kids with paying customers in our backyard involving our friends. So if somebody was good at juggling, he was the juggler. If somebody was good at telling jokes, he was the clown. And this constantly happened as my life was flowing. So when I was a teenager, I was an MC, I was rapping. And so I was running shows on stage. I was hosting a night at a club just on hip hop. I had a radio show. So my my soul is constantly buzzing with ideas. And for me, entrepreneurship is a tool to bring these ideas to life and potentially to make money out of it.
Potentially, definitely.
It's not
So,
the main objective.
okay, I like the way you say it. I'm gonna circle back on this point. But as I was telling you just before starting to record, what I love to talk about here at the Founder Bible is the pain story behind the success story. I'm sick and tired of the tip of the iceberg. Everything seems perfect out there. Everyone feels so alone in this journey because, oh my gosh, they raised X much money, they made so many sales. The reality is definitely different. What have been the walls that you hit, smashed hard with your face through your story, through your journey?
Countless. um, so maybe the story I want to tell you today does not start with entrepreneurship. So I was not born as an entrepreneur because my original passion when I was a kid, and that's what I studied my entire life, was computer engineering. As a kid, I knew that someday I would have been a programmer. Uh, Turns out that life clearly shows me that I'm much better at managing than I am at coding. Um, and so I think my coder career was very short, months probably, because I quickly got promoted. and I was on a managerial path for most of my life, 20 years of my life. It was always about technology. It was always about digital products, but I was managing people and leading teams. I was not building companies. Uh, but then around 2010, I start one side gig, which is Frontiers conferences. It's still existing. Um, Still runs conferences, and it started as a passion project with my friend Leandro Agro around 2005. And by 2010, it grew to the point that we had to make the decision of either quitting the conference or organizing a business around it to support the expansion. And that led to co-founding Talent Garden with Davide Dattoli, but still as side gigs. So my entrepreneurial life was like my sidekick in parallel with my professional life. So it's like Superman. I'm Clark Kent or Matteo Penzo, the executive during the day, and I'm Matteo Penzo, the or Superman, no pun intended, uh, during my free time. So at nights and weekends and holidays, so on and so forth. And the interesting thing is that I truly believe that I never worked a single day of my life. Uh, Different organizations I worked with, different roles, but the common thread is that I kept being surprised of people willing to pay me to make me do not just what I'm very good at, but what I have a deep, deep passion for, which is building teams and building products. And so the biggest wall I ever hit is this. I never worked a single day of my life. And then COVID hit, it's 2020. I am part of the executive team at Frog. Frog is one of the largest, if not the biggest, product strategy and product design firm globally. And I was in charge of the technology teams for Europe, Middle East, and India. Constantly traveling. I was around 200, 250 flights per year, depending on the year. So my life was spent in airports, meeting super interesting clients on their most interesting products, working with enormously skilled people. And then COVID hits, as I was saying, it's 2020. And I recall that morning that I wake up, and for the first time in my life, I had to go to work, which was the computer in my kitchen. But still, I remember this clear sensation of, oh my God, I have to work today. And that was the beginning of the end. This was probably, we were in lockdown, so probably late February 2020. And I was in my small apartment in a very nice condo in Milan downtown. And I recall the struggle of pushing me through the day. Because if you think about it, everything that I love about my work, which was about my job, which was meeting talented people, meeting interesting clients, and discovering new places around the world, all of a sudden, this was kept away. And I'm very thankful today for that, because we would not be having this conversation if that super fast disappearance of my love for my job hadn't happened, because everything that happened after was because of that sensation.
And what happened after? Like, why would you say we wouldn't be talking here? Because you
So
wouldn't be a
obviously,
founder?
definitely I would not be a founder. um, because from the perspective of the Matteo of 5 years ago, we did not know when COVID would have ended. So I did not know when I would have got my life back, my work life back. And and obviously I'm not the kind of person that stops doing what I believe I'm great at just because I've lost the fire inside me. So I tried very hard to reignite the fire. And for me, this part of working on how to reignite the fire was to speak about the disappearance of the fire with my CEO and with my direct manager,
Did they
telling
listen to
them,
you?
look, oh yeah, oh yeah. And I told them very directly, look, I, I've lost my passion. You will still have 110% from me, but I need to find my passion or it's going to be a path of struggle because the sacrifices I was doing were massive. I was sleeping between 3 and 4 hours per night. I was probably on average in 2 or 3 cities, maybe even 3 countries every day on work shifts of, I think, easily 15 hours every day. And traveling on weekends to meet clients on Sunday in Middle East. Uh, and and back then, I don't recall this as a sacrifice because when you love something, I mean, you don't see the sacrifices. Um, but the passion never got back, and so we agreed very friendly. My exit from the role. We agreed on a succession plan. Um, and the way I exited Frog was that 2020 marked my 10 years in the organization. And so nobody knew about my exit. By now it's end of September 2020. And so I organized a presentation for all the studios where I had teams on the 10 lessons I learned during my tenure at Frog. And so this also became a speech. I built a speech around it that I delivered at a couple of universities later. Something like build your own side gigs, find your mentor, so on and so forth. And the last lesson, and I remember because of COVID, I could not deliver the speech in presence, not even, I was in Milano, not even at the Milan studio. So I organized big posters and every 10 posters, every poster, I had a cameraman following me through the posters. Every poster had one lesson, and I was digressing on the lessons and on the hows and the whys. And the last one was covered. The last poster was covered, and it was I still have it in my bedroom upstairs. And the last lesson was love stories end. And I remember I'm still becoming emotional when I speak about it. I was nearly crying when I was delivering that last lesson. But for me, it was very important because it was a story of love, my story with Frog. And it ended with no B plan for me. We were still in COVID. I knew the one thing I knew is that I lost the passion, not for the company, but for my job. So I could not just saying, okay, I'll keep doing what I was doing because it would have been too much of a struggle for me. And so I took some time, and that year became one of the best years of my entire life, just exploring multiple possibilities with open mind.
That's great luck for sure.
Um, so I'm not the person that can enjoy life without focusing on building something. So I had to build something. And for me, I was lucky enough to have Frontiers, which as a conference company that built its brand around the in-person experience at conferences, you can imagine how we were hit during COVID. So I remember a board meeting where with my co-founders, we said, we either close the company for good or try to completely change our soul and bring into the screen the type of experience we were bringing to the seats in the conference room. It turned out well. Now the company is not just survived, but is thriving. But I knew I've been doing Frontiers for, wow, 20 years now. Um, and it's something, I have a very good team. It's something that super oiled machine. It's a company that does not need me anymore. So once we changed shape, then I had to look for something new. And that's something new. Okay, let me take a small digression here. I believe that the strongest force in the universe is serendipity. And if you're not familiar with serendipity, I can describe it simplistically as be open for good and good will happen. Um, and I believe that's the foundation of my luck. Otherwise, I would not be able to explain the reason why I'm so lucky in every aspect of my life.
I've spent the last year asking top founders for their secret sauce, and the honest answer, there isn't just one. Yet, the internet keeps selling us a one recipe fits all. At Wholegrain Wisdom, we're building the tools to help you craft your own recipe so that your mind, body, and energy are fully aligned and you can perform under pressure without burning out. Our recipe is very simple. This podcast shares raw stories from founders who really had the courage to jump off the hamster wheel and rebuild their operating system without hassle. The newsletter is where I go deeper into the science and protocols behind re engineering flow and performance. And ultimately, we are running founders only retreats around the world to create the space for real transformation. And to be honest, that's where really the magic happens. Wholegrain wisdom is where science meets ancient wisdom. It's where we become quantum founders, the entrepreneurs led by inner energy and flow and not finite willpower. If this resonates with you, then join us at wholegrainwisdom.com. Okay, now back to the show.
How did you get to this realization? Because this is a great topic. It can be actually discussed through different lenses. You can go into the physics and the energetic part of this conversation. You can even go to like a complete opposite direction, but still convergent spiritual discussion. What was the journey for you to understand this? Because everything you
Um,
said, it really is about this. I mean, I can't believe somebody that I mean, it seems so easy that for you, you managed to get 10 years doing the best work of your life, and then, pum, oh, shoot, I need to change now. I lost my passion. And then you allowed yourself to actually do this journey. A lot of people, even including myself, I had to shut down for
yeah.
so long this voice.
Um, so as a kid, and again, this is me being lucky. I was so lucky of having a grandpa. Uh, he passed 15, 20 years ago, but he taught me a super good lesson that in life doesn't matter how many times you fall. What it really counts is how many times you're able to raise up again. And I fell so many times, countless times in my life. But what I realized that he was fucking right. Every time I fell, and I felt very bad, I was able to rise up again. but not because of me. It's not something that comes from me. It's something that comes from outside of me. And probably I'm just very good at detecting it when it's coming. And so in the summer of 21, COVID starts to become a memory of our past, a fading memory of our past. Uh, we're back in presence. Frontiers now has a dual business model, both in person, live streaming, and selling access to the videos of the conference afterwards. So it's basically a 365 days life cycle for our business. I speak with Andrea. Andrea Goggi and I have been acquaintances since we were professional kids. And he calls me. This was after I left Frog. And I was, imagine with the eyes of a kid exploring the world. Oh, I can be a restaurant owner, or I can be a professional speaker. Let's try podcasting. You know, taking bits and pieces of everything to understand where to focus the creation of a new passion. And he pops up in my life. It was probably 3-4 years we had a chance to speak, and he asked to meet. And I was joining some advisory boards, some director boards, just to keep me in the loop of business. And I believed he asked me. He was running his startup, which is focused on HR as a service, doing really well. He was about to be acquired by Zucchetti. So I'm saying, okay, he would ask me to join his board. But he tells me, what do you think about training people on WhatsApp through micro learning? And here's serendipity at play. I spent the entire summer of 21 studying micro learning because we were launching with Frontiers a micro conferencing product to compress hours of conferences in 1 hour of video, something that could be digestible during the lunch break. And so when I see micro learning coming from somebody I haven't spoken with for ages, I say, I like it. I like it a lot. I could see the content we were building being delivered through chat clients instead of being consumed on a laptop, on a screen, on a large screen format. And he says, well, I have this idea. We have a prototype. I have a technical co-founder, but we're looking for a CEO. Are you interested in evaluating the opportunity of joining us as a third co-founder? And I immediately said yes. Immediately. I said, here's what I was looking for.
And the universe put it right in front of your
Yeah,
eyes.
slapped on my face. So a story that started nearly 2 years before with me being completely lost, because when you lose your passion, when you lose your love, you are lost. Because everything that made sense in your life, all of a sudden stops having sense, stops making sense.
How bring me back to those days, because I feel that when we are there, when we are questioning everything, that's where we feel the loneliest. I I have, like when you're running 24/7 on a kind of autopilot, you just keep running. You don't even have the time to ask yourself such deep questions. How was the process back then? Like, okay, you realize that this doesn't give you passion anymore. So what's next? Like, what happened within yourself that made you go through the journey?
It's a very strange period of my life because slightly before these events, I separated from my ex-wife, and we were in full lockdown. So I just the apartment I was mentioning, it was a small apartment because as a person who traveled 6 days of the week, I did not n need a big apartment in Milan. I needed something that could resemble a hotel room, something cozy. I had an amazing view. I was on the 11th floor, big terrace, but but
Not a
then
home.
it yeah, it was, something temporary. And my kids were living with their mom, and in full lockdown, I was not even allowed to get out of home to visit them. And I was so frightened about COVID that I locked myself in. Nobody had access to my home. Everything was delivered in front of my door or at the bellboy downstairs. So it was, when you speak about loneliness, it was not just spiritual loneliness for me. It was physical loneliness. Uh, but again, I remember I was speaking with my mom and I was telling her, I think there's something wrong in me because I don't love my job anymore. I'm not in a marriage anymore. I'm not seeing my kids. I'm not seeing my friends. I'm alone 24 hours a day since months. I'm super happy. I had peaks of happiness. So I said, I'm pretty sure that what I perceive as happiness is something dangerous that it's happening in my mind. And I remember her telling me that the reason of this happiness was that even though all these struggles, I kept so much pressure inside me that now that I relieved the pressure, I had so much space for happiness just because of pressure release. Um, so if you ask me about a process, I don't think there was a process, or at least it was not a process I built up. I said, okay, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Well, I knew what to do. I had to leave Frog, right? That was the plan, and I was working along this plan. But apart from that, if you look at my life perspective, I had no process. My process is okay. Let's put a full stop here, and then let's see what happens. Living the world with open eyes.
Yeah. At the beginning, you said something about not be in for the money only as a founder, but throughout your story, I perceive there's been a lot of hustle. I mean, so much traveling, so much working. Is it like how does it look like to you right now as a founder? What are the things that are truly important?
Not the things that were important to me, or not all of the things that were important to me. For example, we are a very dispersed organization. Um, I'm in Milano today, but we moved our life for the summer, then let's see, to Mantova, which is me and my wife's hometown. But my team is in Dublin. Zick Learn is Irish. And so my sales team is in Dublin, and my product team is in Ukraine. Even though in Ireland. Obviously, in Ukraine, because of the war, it's not possible. But in Dublin, we offer people to work in the office, but also to work from home. And if they choose to work from home, they're granting a no questions asked allowance to buy whatever they need to make their workstation more enjoyable. Nobody works in the office. So I'm not traveling. Probably last year, I took, I don't remember, less than 30 flights. So one order of magnitude smaller than what I was used to. And when I was doing that, not because I wanted to travel, because I truly believed it was important to be in front of people. Now I'm hiring people, I'm mentoring people, and I'm managing people from wherever I am. For example, I just spent a week in Spain, working from Spain. And the other thing that I enjoy a lot about the product we're building is that for the first time in my life, I'm doing what I'm very good at, building digital products, but without the hassle of having the client close to me making decisions. I can imagine things and I can execute upon this imagination with nobody in the middle. And that is so fun.
Wonderful. How do you keep yourself focused at peak performance? You know, the podcast actually started with a quest from my side. After so many years, mental health challenges, ups and downs of startup life, loss of meaning, everything we discussed already, I, I I also wanted to know from other people, okay, there are these issues, but how do you make sure they don't own you, right? How do you keep yourself going straight however you want to go towards your goals when it
The
comes to
recipe
like,
for me,
yeah,
the recipe for me, it's very simple. I'm very good at saying no, and I say a lot of no's, and I'm ultra stubborn, ultra stubborn. When I see the objective in front of me, nothing and nobody can stop me. I keep pushing till I'm there.
how do you know you're going to the right direction though?
Um, I don't know, obviously. I hope it's the right direction. And going back to what we said before, I know that if it's not the right direction, I have everything inside me and outside me to change direction and find a new path.
I often talk about founders as high performance athletes with a very big difference, which is if you want to win the Olympics, you're going to get a team that supports you win the Olympics. The club or the federation you're part of, they're going to give you trainers, you know, mental coaches and masseurs, physiotherapy, whatever things. What is your current super system within your life?
Um, different layers, different layers. First and most important layer is my wife. And, you know, I'm in a super high risk job because everything I built for the past 3 years could disappear in 6 months. If, as you said, if your idea is wrong, what happens? Well, everything goes away. But I know that even if everything goes away, she won't go away. My kids won't go away. So I'll find something else, as I always did. Um, the second layer, which is super important to me, it's my co-founders and my investors. I need to be surrounded by people who are smarter than me to be happy. Otherwise, I'm easily bored. So you're either smarter than me, or I'm not, and I can learn from you, or I'm not interested in having a conversation with you.
I
And I'm
take it
very
as a
direct.
compliment.
Yeah, sure. And I'm very direct. So I'm gonna tell you directly. Yeah, nice. Bye-bye. Not interested. And so they are a great sounding chamber for my ideas, for my thoughts, for my fears, for my what if we do this? And vice versa, obviously. And that's where I'm good at saying no. I think Andrea is the person I said the most no's in my entire life, because he kept having these ideas. We should be doing this on the product. We should be doing this on sales. And going back to the focus topic you raised before, I think it's my superpower being able of being laser focused on the objective, and everything that distracts me from the objective, it's a no for me.
Love that. So let me end the conversation with one last question. We go back to uncomfortable situations. What's the one fear that you perceive for yourself as a founder? Do you have like a constant thing that
Oh yeah. Oh
however
yeah.
you processed, or however experienced you are, is still there and you have to figure it out?
I've never been where I am. So I'm doing something that I never did in my life. Right now, Zick Learn has not just the size, but the potential that I never touched in everything I did before. So I know what I'm doing, but I don't know the outcomes. I don't know the exact outcomes of what I'm doing. So I'm not worried about the next 18 months. I know how to bring the company from where we're at to 30, 40 people. I've done that before. But if we are successful, I don't know what comes after. I'm not worried. I'll be able to manage it, and I'll be able to have success out of it for everybody around me. But I don't know what success will be looking like and how to get there. So it's going to be a path of continuous discovery, which is very unsettling. Because if I look back at the past, probably 15 years of my life, I just increased every day 1% what I was doing. So still do the same thing, just get 1% better every day. But what the future has for me is something I never tried out, I never prototyped before.
Love this. Wonderful. Well, it's been a rich conversation. Thanks so much for sharing the the deepest inner journey. I also feel like of doing such a big change I feel like a lot of founders may fear, like may get to this position a little bit earlier in life. So I also love the fact that regardless the like a kind of like a perfect career, it would seem at least from the outside, you kind of dismantled everything and you had the courage to do that. So telling this story, I think it's going to be very, very inspiring for many.
Thank you. Constant search for happiness.
Yeah, we all are. We all are. Absolutely. And that's what
Okay,
probably we all share.
Alessandro, grazie mille.
Thanks so much, Matteo. Bye bye.